Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Massive roster mania updates happening last night. Loads of new contracts signed, especially Marved, quite possibly going to NRG, but also what's going on with 100 Thieves. A new IGL has been linked there to their roster. Loads of rumours as well about what's going on elsewhere, especially with Jorgamo no longer spotted with G2. What does that mean for that team? Are evil geniuses locking absolutely everybody to their contracts? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. This is the new agent name, potentially ISO. So yeah, we'll see, I guess. Duelist, male player, not exactly sure where from. Possibly from Singapore. There was some talk about that. We'll see over time if they're any good. Now, the Union, they were a big controversial organization at the end of last season in the Ascension side. They did get quite close to qualifying through to the Franchise League. They were controversial because they signed a couple of players that had questionable at best pasts, shall we say, and therefore they haven't really gained much community goodwill. The reality is that it is unfortunate to see the Union decide that they simply cannot sustain their operations in Tier 2. It just doesn't make sense to form a Challengers team to commit to that salary with the upside that isn't really seen to be there. So it's not like there won't be organizations in Tier 2, but some of these organizations just can't financially justify it based on the way that Challengers is structured. So yeah, okay, whatever you think about the Union, and they're not exactly held in particularly high regard by the community, nonetheless, it is still kind of unfortunate to see organizations like this that got very close to qualifying for Champions this year, calling it a day, and leaving the VALORANT Tier 2 ecosystem, at least for the time being. Now, speaking of the Brazilian scene, actually, there has been a lot of talk about the Game Changers World Championship. Now, I believe this was a discussion again last year about the number of seats. So I'm pretty sure the venue for the Challengers World Championship in Sao Paulo, Brazil, maybe there's 1,000 seats in the venue, and maybe 140 or 150 of those seats have actually gone on sale right now. And the talk has been, well, is there actually enough capacity here? Like, if Riot are going to pretend that Game Changers is a thing they care about, surely a bigger stadium might be a good idea. And I know that people will say, well, you know, it's probably too late to change the venue now, which is probably true. But people have been talking about this for a long time. This isn't a new discussion. It was a talking point last year, and people are still going on about it today. So, yeah, as, you know, players are saying, please change this for us. Like, let's try and be a bit more inclusive, because a lot of the players, their parents or their friends and their family want to come along to watch, but that might not even be able to happen because there's simply not enough seats, not enough tickets that they can buy. So, yeah, this does not sound like a great situation, and it's a big talking point for many of the players at the moment, that especially family of some of the players that will be there might not even be able to go because there simply aren't enough seats that they can attend in. So that's a big controversial subject that I'm sure Riot will have to think about what they do over the coming days before the World Championship, which begins towards the end of November. Now, speaking of Brazil again, I did notice this here, the Furia team, with Muzera, of course, on it. They were looking very, well, pretty good in this series, playing with Muzera on the Duelist, right? And this is an interesting thing just to note, that Muzera on the Jet, on the Duelist, at least for this map here on Breeze, is potentially going to be a good return to form for him. I mean, it's 34 and 10 here, so yeah, pretty interesting stuff if Muzera is back on that role on a full-time basis. This was another piece of drama yesterday on the Riot ID changes. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because they want more money. But it's very frustrating as, you know, someone who wants to believe, maybe, that these organizations have the best interest of the player at heart, that they're going to change something like this. So, beginning November the 20th, 2023, every 365 days, you'll only be able to change your Riot ID one time. Currently, every 30 days it's okay, but this they're going to put up to 365. And if you want to change it sooner, that's a $10 charge. It's like, it just, the people are going to be annoyed about this, and for very good reason. It's just one of these just massively greedy things, because it shouldn't be a service to change your name in the game. Like on Steam, within reason, you can change it pretty much however many times that you want to. So yeah, this just leaves a sour taste in the mouth of many, especially people who want to change their name for good reason relatively often, but also even think of, like, let's say pro players, or especially in challenges or something, let's say they play for a certain team, and then they, you know, they're trialing for those guys, or they get dropped by that team, they join another team, they can't change their name unless they pay $10. Like, come on, surely this is, you know, I don't know. It doesn't seem like this helps anyone in any way apart from make their pockets a little bit bigger. So yeah, EA 2.0, a lot of people are saying. Now let's talk some of this Rostermania stuff then. So first of all, BCJ. We've heard this rumor for a little bit of time now that he was at least trialing with M80. Those trials apparently went rather well. And as a result, this is the roster of 5. Koala Noob, Nismo, NaturE, IGL, Xander, and BCJ. Very nice team. There are going to be a few nice teams in Challengers, obviously. These guys will theoretically be the favourites, right? Last year, they were pretty much there. They just fell short to the guard in the end and failed to qualify. This time, their roster is going to be very similar. BCJ's here, though, now. NaturE's here, though, now, which is very interesting, right? Like the fact that NaturE returning from Counter-Strike after being on 100 Thieves Valorant for some time to IGL this team, try and get back into the Pro League. But yeah, they're going to be the big favourites, really. BCJ, we saw he confirms that he signed a deal at least the other day. M80 is meant to be the team. Leaf also commented on this as well, and don't know what Leaf is up to, and we'll get back to that in a second. Marved, however, has signed a deal. This is this seems to be like the going contract signing thing that everybody is using nowadays. So finally, NRG have realised they actually can sign some players, and they've now done that, it seems, with Marved. Unless Marved has gone somewhere else, I don't think that's the case. Marved to NRG with Victor Crashies. That's your team of 3 looking for 2. Now, do they even know what those 2 are? That's the massive debate that's going on right now, because NRG have had many options, but pretty much all of those intentions have fallen through in some respects. Sadak, you know, Aspas, Demon 1, Ethan, we don't know what's happening there. But NRG do have the money and the resources possibly to try and commit to this, and maybe they can get something done. We'll get to that in a second. Firstly, though, this is G2. So they were playing up against M80, and we can see here G2, which is X the Guard, versus the new M80 team. But we've got Net, Trent, Josh RT, Valen, and Jonah P, and no Jorgamo spotted here, which is definitely interesting that there's no Jorgamo, because, well, it could, maybe he's still happening, maybe it's going to be possible, but the theory might be that now the teams are really getting their trials and their scrims underway for the new season, it was expected that Jorgamo might potentially be able to go from EG, get bought out by G2. That now seems a little bit less likely. Well, he hasn't really been spotted here, nor has Leaf necessarily, but I imagine it's one of the 2. Either G2 get Jorgamo. If they can't do that, they probably get Leaf. And if they get Jorgamo and they don't get Leaf, I think Leaf probably to NRG makes sense, but we really don't know at the present time. And this is, you know, I thought this is pretty funny as well here for the guy that originally posted this, that, you know, Cloud9 and G2 going their own separate ways, leaving Leaf going to poor NRG. But NRG, like, they should be really good. I'm just confused why they are doing what they're doing right now. This, though, was the other big rumor on 100 Thieves, and this is where things tie in as well to NRG. So if you guys can see here at the top of the screen, this is what was leaked yesterday in Scrimbucks with regard to 100T. We knew that they were starting practice yesterday, so it was expected someone was going to find out what the team is going to be. Now, again, M80, despite apparently looking good with BCJ in their trials, were not having a good time in this one, down 10-1. However, on the other side, NaturE and Asuna on 100T. So, NaturE, he used to do some IGLing, I think back in like the Immortals days and stuff, so I'm guessing he's going to come in here as the IGL. Is that a long-term fix? Is that a short-term fix? That's the debate at the moment. Also, just to note here that Sentinels up 9-3 on Wedded's team, and B-Dog, of course, those guys that we saw their roster yesterday. So we were pretty sure that it was going to be Asuna, Cryo, Bang looking for 2. One of the guys we thought was going to be EU for sure, especially with BCJ going to M80. Feels like EU is the man to close out the team, but then they need one more player. Boostio has been linked there, and to be honest, I think what they might be trying to do is still get Boostio when they can. There was a rumor going around, and even Boostio's mother herself kind of promoted the idea of this, that Boostio possibly to 100 Thieves is a chance, and she actually mentioned here the other day that hopefully EG will allow them to loan Boostio to 100 Thieves for the Home Grounds event in November. The belief is, this is a rumor that's been going around, that Boostio has a contract with Evil Geniuses until January 2024. Once that contract is over, then he is a free agent to go to a team like 100 Thieves. So I guess if that is true, that's an interesting timing for that contract to end. But I don't know. If that is true, then Boostio is locked under contract with EG for now. So 100 Thieves could either buy him out of that contract, but if you were to do that, why, when you can just wait 2 months and get him for free? Or EG could just say, all right, we're not going to get any money for him anyway, we'll just release him. But EG don't seem to be in the ballpark of doing that. And also there's a chance for EG that, let's say NaturE comes in for 100 Thieves as their temporary replacement, and actually they do really well with NaturE, they might think, you know what, let's run it up like this. So that's kind of the way I look at this, is that possibly NaturE isn't guaranteed their full-on 100% IGL. Now, it might be possible that that rumor about Boostio's contract isn't even true, and that they're going to keep Boostio on Evil Geniuses, and therefore 100 Thieves do need another IGL full-time, and NaturE's their guy. But I think there's a chance that NaturE comes in here for the Home Grounds tournament in Tokyo, they play that, regardless of how well they do, come January, they just bring Boostio in potentially once the contract is at an end. That's a possibility. But as I say, let's say they go to Tokyo for the Home Grounds Red Bull tournament and NaturE plays really well, that he IGLs them to success. They win the entire thing over teams like Fnatic and Cloud9 and, you know, DRX, all the other great teams that are at that event. Then they might think, well, you know what, is Boostio going to be better than this? Maybe not. So let's keep NaturE around. So definitely intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comment section below. How do you see this going? Is this going to be the 100 Thieves roster with these 5 with NaturE permanently? Or is NaturE just a temporary guy? And if that's the case, that's pretty frustrating for NaturE because, you know, I'm sure he wants something locked down for the new season. But then again, I guess NaturE knows that given Boostio is out of the picture for now, then if he performs really well, maybe he gets locked down in the long term. But this honestly might open up the door for somebody else to get Boostio instead. Let's say I'm NRG. I might have thought for some time Boostio was going to 100 Thieves. 100T though, they don't have all the money in the world, so they're trying to be a bit more frugal and a bit more budget sensitive nowadays. They would probably prefer to not buy Boostio and get him for free when his contract ends apparently in January, then they could just bring him in just before the start of the new season. If I'm NRG, I'm now thinking, well, hang on a second, let's say I go to EG and I make them an offer they can't refuse for Boostio, then I can get that guy, because NRG desperately need an in-game leader. They don't really have a good one. There's lots of options that have fallen through. They're not going to get FNS and SOM back, no way. So if I'm NRG, I'm thinking, well, hang on a second, could I go in to EG and say, all right, I'm going to get Boostio and I'm going to get Ethan out, or I'm going to get Demon 1, I don't know, try and get Demon 1 if you can, I guess, and we're going to put big money on the table here while 100 Thieves are not exactly sleeping at the wheel, but they might have given up on getting Boostio out of his contract, and maybe that's just because no one could afford what EG are asking for, but maybe NRG are one of the teams that could. So I think lots of interesting things happening there, because NRG, they're going to have to do something to salvage this offseason, because it's definitely gone wrong for them. Things have not gone as intended, and they might need to get the wallet out and talk to EG if they want to make this happen. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comments below. Just one final thing to mention, there is another off-season tournament happening soon. These are the 6 teams involved: Edward Gaming, Team Liquid, the New Sentinels, DRX, T1 Paper X. That's a pretty banger lineup, and that's happening not too far from now. Out there in Korea, I believe. So hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.